Another week of NBA playoff basketball is here, so it's time for episode 14 of the Before the Buzzer podcast. We got the boys here today, Cheyenne and Alex in the house. Cheyenne, how you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. Bit tired, but playoffs are getting a bit interesting now. Love to see it. Been waiting for this, but wish all the series could have been more interesting. But we got some pretty good ones though. We got some pretty good ones. Excited.
Yeah, life is good. Let's talk. Yeah,
Life is good. You sound like
good.
Future.
Yeah, like real shit.
All right.
Right there.
Well,
Tony Montana.
hey, if you're an OKC fan, kind of like Alex, I guess, kind of a temporary OKC fan.
Fan of every team.
I love
bro.
his aura, man.
A lot of aura on that team.
A lot of aura, yeah.
But one star shined the brightest last night. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leads his OKC Thunder to a big-time Game 4 win on the road against the Mavericks. It was a game that the Mavericks were up double digits in, missed a lot of free throws towards the tail end. Most notably, Luka Doncic missing the front end of two free throws that could have tied the game there. Now, whether he should have gone to the line in the first place and whether that was a foul in the first place, I'm not sure. That's up to interpretation. I think he might have slipped a little bit. But nonetheless, they had chances at the free throw line. And it's really been a problem for them the whole series. We've seen that, OKC in Game 3 was chasing around Lively, trying to foul him, trying to just get the Mavs to the line because they haven't been able to convert. And it really felt like if the Mavs make some free throws, they not only tie and go to overtime, they win that game. Cheyenne, do you think that the free throw, shooting will ultimately come back to bite the Mavericks and end up costing them the series, or do you think they're fine and can still pull this out in the next 3 games here?
I think they could still pull this out, but this would have definitely been really big for them because they missed a lot of free throws and OKC missed I don't think they missed or they
I
missed
think
one or two,
OKC
maybe.
shot in the low 90%.
Okay, wait, I'll read it real quick. Okay, so OKC was 23 for 24, so 96%, and Dallas was 12 for 23, which is 52%.
Yeah.
So yeah, big disparity right there. 10 free throw differential right there. Yeah,
I feel like the Mavericks, that's probably the main reason they lost that game. I mean, neither of their stars really played well at all that game. And, they were still in it, though. So that makes me feel a bit confident going into the end of the series and give me hope why I think they could pull it out. But Luke is kind of embarrassing me right now after the statement I made last episode.
Yeah, it was a very bad execution in the clutch from Dallas. A lot of mistakes, even with PJ Washington making the first free throw, and then he missed the first free throw and he made the second. Just like the worst thing he could have done, down 3 in that kind of situation. It really showed a lot about OKC's kind of maturity as a team to see them pull away like that and to really they were down by 8, right? It was 18-72 or something in the fourth. To come back and then go on a run and get the game. Really impressive, I think, for this young core. And really good for their main 4 guys. Shai, 34, 8, and 5. Great performance from him. What else is there? Yeah, Chet was pretty good too. He hit the clutch free throws at the end to kind of seal the game, which was really impressive, I think, because he is a rookie. That's very good. And then overall as a team, I was really impressed with the Thunder today or yesterday. I've always had them in this series. I've always been a fan of them, as we talked about before. I think if Dallas had won this game, it would have been over just because I don't think OKC is winning 3 straight. But yeah, I think the real core to this series is going to be if Luka can figure his shit out. He's obviously a bit banged up, but the great players find ways to kind of play through that and to still be effective despite their physical handicaps. So I think if he could just spend less time complaining to the refs and exaggerating the injuries and just playing, he could do a lot more. Although Kyrie didn't have the numbers, I think he played pretty good today. I think he was doing a good job making the right plays and facilitating. He just isn't being the same scorer that they maybe need him to be. But when you have PJ Washington averaging 25 a game for the series, you can kind of be a bit more hands off and make your teammates great, So, and then
PJ Washington Linsanity run will be remembered. By the way, shout out Josh Giddey. Positive minutes last night. They were positive.
Yeah, 12 minutes, only 12 minutes. I mean, that's his number, but 12 minutes. He got some stuff. He inbounded the ball pretty good at the end of the game. I'll give him some credit.
Slob wizard.
Yeah, Slob Wizard. The slobbing in 12. Slob in 12.
All right, well, switching over to the other side of the Western Conference bracket now, we got to talk about the boys from Denver back against the wall, coming back from that 2-0 deficit. Now it's tied up 2-2, going to Denver. Feels like all the momentum's on their side, and a series that we thought was wrapped up kind of in one way because Minnesota was coming back to Minnesota up 2-0. Now it's completely flipped. It feels like Minnesota has no chance to match what Denver just put on through those last two games. Alex, I'm going to start with you because you've been high on Denver this whole time. But you've also been impressed with what Anthony Edwards has done, and he showed up last game. Just didn't get any help from his teammates. I believe he had like 44 points in that loss. What do they have to do around him to get back in this series?
I mean, I think offensively, he just needs help. He just needs guys that can hit shots, guys who can. I mean, I think Cat. Obviously, Cat really struggled, right? That's something that they really need Cat to be that second star offensively. And it seems like with Cat, like he wants his kind of buckets, and he wants to kind of, he thinks he's the co-star, not like the secondary star, right? And when you're the co-star, you kind of feel your equal share of the ball, equal all that stuff. So it's kind of like a you turn, my turn thing sometimes, where it's like Cat's like, okay, this is my time to go get some buckets, And I think he kind of needs to accept that maybe on his role, he needs to stay a little bit off more and kind of defer a little bit to his teammates who all, he has good scorers around him. Nasri off the bench, obviously. Mike Conley had 15 in the loss in Game 4. I think Mike Conley is a great guy for him to use, just driving kick. Obviously, it's a nice little floater game. I think it's something you really got to make the most out of if you're Minnesota, especially if Jamal Murray's a little bit hurt still. Like you gotta and with Ant taking the KCP assignment, like he's gonna have a little bit of a he's gonna have a good ability. He's gonna be able to get to the basket. Obviously, Denver struggles with point guards. And then outside of that, I think it's just keeping the defense. And I think Cat it really is X factor because if Cat plays well, like Minnesota, like they're not unbeatable, but they're very hard to beat. And Cat needs to just not make so many stupid mistakes on defense and then be reliable on offense. That's the key for Minnesota in this series.
Yeah, Cheyenne. So in terms of Denver and what you've seen from them in these past couple of games, just the utter dominance. We've seen them go on these, stretches throughout the game where they'll go on a 9-0 run, 18-2 run. What about them makes them so dangerous to just break the game open? And when they get up, it doesn't seem like they lose that lead.
We all know from the first series, the Nuggets are capable of going on these big runs and keeping these leads. They're really good in the fourth quarter. Jokic is probably the best when it comes to like the late game scenarios, just keeping his team composed and making like the right plays. But everything changed once Jamal Murray started playing better. Like Jamal Murray, he couldn't get even a shot off in like the first two games. And then these two games, he's played really well. And the last game, Aaron Gordon played phenomenally. And that's honestly why. And Minnesota, their half-court offense isn't really that good. They don't really have much outside of just like Edwards go get a bucket. So if they want to win the series, I think they just need it. Their half-court offense needs to improve. Cat needs to play better. Can't get in like foul trouble or anything. And yeah, like Pritch said, Cat's the X factor in this series. If he plays like the second option, or like if he plays like an all-star like he was this year, then I believe they could win. They could win the series. But if he plays like he played last game, then I think it's gonna be Denver.
All right, switching over to the Eastern Conference now. We got to start with the game yesterday between Boston and Cleveland. I think we can all assume that the series is pretty much wrapped up with Boston going up 3-1 and Donovan Mitchell being out. At least he was out last game. We don't know if he'll make a return this game. The Cavs make a strong stand at home. Max Strus with an incredible performance in that first half there for Cleveland, but they fall just short at home to Boston with the series now going back to Boston with the Celtics up 3-1. But at times it seemed like Boston was a little bit shaky there, Alex. I know that, they'll probably pull out this series, but are you worried about them going down the stretch here as they progress?
Not in the East. So for me, not in the East, because if you look at the East, it's very weak. I mean, they're going to be playing a Pacers team that has an incredible flaw defensively where, they're bound to get blown out a couple of games in a series. And then you have, a Knicks team that's like dying, they're just bleeding injuries. They're struggling, right? And I think they're going to get to the finals pretty much no matter what, assuming that assuming that the Knicks stay hurt. Pretty much, it's an easy run, right? And I think for me, it's just Porzingis. Porzingis is healthy. If they're able to get him back by the finals, that's amazing for them because they really need him right now. I think they need the depth. They need just like I like Luke Cornett. I don't think you want Luke Cornett getting finals minutes. Just if Horford's a great big off the bench, but he's old as fuck now. How old is he? And he's about 36, 37.
He's got to be.
So yeah, he's gonna be 38 during the series if you go to the finals. So yeah, you want to rest him. You don't want to put too many miles on him. And I think you need Porzingis for like a Jokic matchup or for like a Minnesota matchup. You need that size. You need his stability too. Like he's a great player, but yeah, it is the clutch stuff is a little bit worrying for me. I mean, they did pull this game out, but they kind of were supposed to. I do want to shout out Darius Garland though. Shout out to Darius. Putting up 30 last night, like that's really impressive. I think he really struggles in the playoffs this year and just in general this season next to Mitchell. I'm glad to see him on his own, kind of being able to contribute because he's a legitimately good player. And I think if they move on from Mitchell in the summer, he's someone they should build around. They should be trying to move him. Let's see the Spurs. If they go to the Spurs, then I'm fine with that.
I mean, you could see in that game, he just needed some time to really find himself on the court and break through because I don't think he had a point until about like halfway or a quarter of the way through the second quarter. He was held scoreless, and once he got going, I mean, he was the dog for them that they needed to stay in that game, unable to pull. I mean,
it's like me and my rec games. Like yesterday, we were down by 20 at halftime. I was really struggling. Like I think it was 34-14. I had like 6 or 8, but it wasn't great. And we did lose by 45 points, but I had like 35 of our team's 44 points. So. I know what you mean. Like, you really have to, when you hit that switch, I hit like 5 straight threes and a half court, but we were just fucking around at the end because we were down by 40. But like, but I know what you mean. Like when you kind of turn that switch and you become like the offensive leader that I am, like, you really, no, but seriously, like I know what you mean. He has the freedom. Without Mitchell, he has the freedom to really create in the backcourt and to have the ball in his hands and to make things happen, right?
Well, they were talking about that on the broadcast too with Max Strus, where he doesn't get all those shots if Mitchell's there, right? He needed an opportunity like that to show that he can be a scorer, off the catch when he gets the opportunity to. But when a guy's like Mitchell is there, you're not going to get those same opportunities just because of how ball dominant a guy like him is. But obviously, you want to have him in a game that it felt like they had to win, or the series was going to turn. But it's a interesting insight to the future of the Cavs here, who probably going to get bounced here in the second round. Uncertainty around Donovan Mitchell coming back. Cheyenne, how do you see this playing out with the Cavs? I know we talked about it before a little bit in terms of his relation to maybe a team in LA, but Donovan Mitchell able to maybe, leave Cleveland here. Where do you think that this ends up going for Cleveland?
Yeah, I definitely think the Cavs should try to trade Mitchell just because I don't think he's going to re-sign with them. And it's kind of clear this two-guard lineup, these two short guard lineup with them isn't really working. We see both of them when they're without the other, they both play way better. Like the Cavs had their best run of the season when it was just Mitchell and Allen. And the year before Mitchell was traded there, Garland was an all-star, and we haven't seen that since Mitchell came. So hopefully the Lakers, could get a little Donovan Mitchell, That'd be the best case scenario for me. But I think a couple teams would be interested in him. I don't think it's just he's guaranteed to go to the Lakers or anything. But I do expect them to move on. And I hope they move on from Jarrett Allen too. Because it seems like Evan Mobley's really hit a stride this season. In this series.
Can I propose a trade team for Mitchell real quick? I'm saying anything about this, which is why I want to propose it right here. This is before the buzzer exclusive. I think Houston would be a really interesting fit for Mitchell, and I think they would have to give up. I think they have to trade Jalen Green as a part of this. But I'd be willing to do so because I don't think Jalen Green's really the superstar that people think he is. He's a good scorer, but I don't think he's never gonna be a Mitchell level scorer, in my opinion. And with the Rockets getting the third pick in the draft, I think he can attach Jalen Green, put Dylan Brooks in there for the contract, and then the third overall pick. And then maybe another first year there. and that's like good value, I think, especially because the Rockets have tons of picks for the Nets trade. That's gonna be some valuable picks. I think I'd really love to see Mitchell in that team, put him next to Şengün, and just see what the fuck happens.
But the other thing is Mitchell is an unrestricted free agent, right? I believe.
Yeah.
So he'd have
next
to
season, yeah.
agree to sign and trade to Houston.
No, after next season.
No, next year.
He's next.
He's one more year in his deal, yeah.
Okay.
They'd have time to kind of sell him on it, yeah. And I think Houston's bound to really like take a step in the next year.
Do you think that he would be willing to go to a team like Houston?
Yeah, I think he wants to win. I mean, he was in Utah for fucking a long time. I think
maybe he has PTSD.
I feel like that's why he wouldn't though. Except
Houston's like the opposite of Utah though. It's like there's a lot less white people, so I think
that
would probably be. You know what I mean? That'd be.
I'm talking strictly basketball though.
Yeah,
like,
I
he probably wants to go to at least a team that's like already like firmly in the playoffs. I feel like. I don't think he wants to go to a team.
Very close this year, and I think the difference.
They were really close.
A difference between a Jalen Green and a Donovan Mitchell is like pretty big.
Yeah.
We've seen this in the playoffs. Jalen Green can't do this. I
don't think he would. He'd want to go or stay, but I think it'd be a good fit though, because everyone in Houston plays defense, and that kind of helps cover up like Mitchell's like deficiency. And he'll have a good pairing alongside Şengün. Have good players around him like Cam Whitmore, Jabari Smith, Ben Thompson. I feel like it'd be really fun.
Yeah, I think it'd definitely bring the best out of like Jabari Smith or something like that. Like I'd really love to see Jabari Smith on a contending team or a competitive team because he is such a, he is such a guy that is really like he's one of those guys that he's made better by better players. I think he has a real skill set that really lends itself to winning. Especially being like 6'10" and all that stuff too. Like he's a good rebounder, good shooter. I think the stuff like I'd want to see him on a good team, and I think he fits well next to Şengün in the front court. My trade that I've just come up with right now that works in trade machine thing is Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, Jeff Green, and I guess like the 3rd overall pick for Mitchell and Dean Wade. So maybe an extra first in there, but
all the greens.
Yeah, on the Wade. Shout out to D Wade.
Yeah, Dean Wade pushes the needle for me. I think they got to put that one through.
Yeah, I mean,
Houston doesn't accept that trade without Dean Wade.
He was getting minutes in the game yesterday, bro. Same with Tristan Thompson.
Dean Wade won the game against the Celtics in the regular season.
He played 25 minutes last game.
Shout out Bron supporting Tristan, showing up courtside to support Tristan Thompson.
We see he'd whine under his chair and shit.
Yeah.
My gosh. Classic Bron.
You see the little tribute video they hit him with?
Yeah. Classic sunshine, bro.
Oh my gosh. That was pretty cool to see actually. Bron's return to Cleveland.
Yeah.
But going back to this game one last time, want to give a shout out to Jason Tatum. Played 44 minutes. Most he's played in this series. And put up 33 points. So these last 2 games put up 33 points, a little bit more involved as a scorer now. And we obviously know that down the stretch, when this gets to the Eastern Conference Finals and the NBA Finals, if they make it, they're going to need Jason Tatum to be the guy. And this is going to be his kind of opportunity to stake his claim as maybe not even just one of the best, but the best player in the NBA. I know he has his haters and he has his, fanboys, but
yeah, I don't think anyone's going to say Tatum's the best player in the NBA.
Well, if Jason Tatum goes out, leads
if he goes crazy,
and he wins,
like if he kind of plays just like how he's been playing in the playoffs,
I'm not saying I would say he's the best, but there would be whole lot of people that say if they beat the Nuggets and Jason Tatum's the Finals MVP, that Jason Tatum.
I mean, the whole year they've been saying that there's a super team in Boston, so like I don't think he get the credit like a Jokic would get. And also, like, it's very clear he's not the best player in the NBA. Like, I don't think anybody's making that argument.
Oh, no, I don't think he's the best player in the NBA.
Yeah, but
I mean,
no one's making that argument.
If you want to make a stake in a claim for the next face of the league, I mean, you have a leg up on a guy like Anthony Edwards or Luka Doncic if you have a championship under your belt and a Finals MVP. I mean, we forget 19, Jason Tatum is not old. Jason Tatum's still really young.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
He's only 19.
Yeah, that's I mean, I think like I think Ant is like pretty solidified as the face of the league just because of his personality. Jason Tatum's a little bit like he's a little goofy. You have some of the ads with him. Like, what's the banking ad? That's him. He's not the most charismatic, I must say, but
no, very boring superstar.
Yeah. No, we only see like the personality through his son. Yeah.
Yeah, we love Deuce. Yeah.
All right. Well, switching over to the bottom of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Now we got the Knicks and the Pacers. I mean, that game 4, you turn on the TV, get up, and the game's already over. I mean, they tipped the ball and should have just blown the whistle dead because this game was over from the jump. I mean, it got to a point where the Knicks were at like single digits. The Pacers had like 35 points. Like, it was not good for New York. It was a blowout when Josh Hart only played 24 minutes. I mean, that's like half
That's
his
a
minutes.
career low.
Yeah.
I think Prize Picks should have refunded everyone that had anything Josh Hart over. I mean, 24 minutes. That's
I
like
know, yeah.
But the Knicks embarrassed in Game 4. I think that's the best word to describe it. And it felt like the Knicks, even after Game 3, were still in control of this series. I mean, let's be honest, that was a close game in Game 3. I don't know if we believe that Andrew Nembhard would hit those shots, 9 out of 10 times. But by the way, reminiscent of UCLA Gonzaga when he hit that thing, it did not bring up memories no, that was his teammate Strother, but just that shot, that deep 3 was reminiscent. But anyways, it felt like New York was still in control of the series going into Game 4, still up 2-1, a close loss in Game 3, but still up in the series. And then that game happens, and now all of a sudden it's wondering, can the Knicks come back from logically and say, maybe they've taken back some of the control in the series. We're already banged up, OG being out, Brunson being, banged up a little bit here. Obviously, their losses with Mitchell Robinson and everyone that's been out for them. Can the Knicks recover from this psychologically, Alex, or do you think
I think so. I mean,
well, they play tonight. Pacers, that could pretty much end the series. What do you think?
Teams are very strong, like mentally very strong and physically very strong. But I think this is just one of those games like you just kind of move on. Like these games happen, right? Especially in away from home in a really great Indiana home crowd. These games are going to happen, right? I think the Knicks will be fine purely based off of this. I don't think this is like the killer game or anything. It's still 2-2, and Knicks have home court advantage. I think it's still this Knicks series is going to lose to an extent because I do think they have the better team. It's just about whether they can make it work and they can physically sustain this, because playing like 6 guys is like very difficult in the playoffs, and that's the way Tibbs wants to do it. I mean, that's his choice, but like it's a bit worrying. I want to see more Alex Burks minutes because I think when he's in the game, he's actually like pretty aggressive and he's trying to make things happen. So I would like to see him go 7 deep with Alex Burks and really give him a chance. I don't want to see Jericho Sims on the court, respectfully. Like, he's just not that good, especially when you have like Hartenstein and Precious. Like, of all the guys I have on the bench, let's not bring him on. Shake Milton, the Sixers legend. I mean, maybe he could get minutes. I don't even know. But yeah, in the offseason, the Knicks are going to have to get some depth. Even though they are hurt, like they're going to need to get some backups. Just some younger guys who get minutes, I guess, because it's a bit of this isn't what you want. They have
a whole lot of draft picks. I think that is good to mention. They have a lot of draft picks, so they could draft some guys and let them develop while kind of riding the bench there. But you're right.
Yeah. Cheap contracts. Yeah, and especially with the Bogey contract, I think you can probably move that in the summer. But yeah, it's I still think the Knicks are gonna win the series. I think the Knicks they still have the best talent in the series. I think, although Indiana, I think it's going to Game 7. I think it's a Game 7 series for sure. I just see Indiana has too much talent and they're offensively so unstoppable. Like this game, Indiana was shooting crazy, I think. Okay, at the end they were only 14 for 31, but like they started off very hot.
Yeah, and I mean they couldn't miss. They could not miss to start the game.
Yeah, it was crazy. So like, it's just one of those things where these games are going to happen, right? As everyone's beating these games as players where you just obviously cannot miss, and that's that. Yeah, first half they were 10 for 21, which is pretty good, and then what was the first quarter? But like they were, 5 for 12. Okay, never mind. I'm not really good numbers, but watching the game, the impact you could have on the fans and the impact it had on the for demoralizing the team, and also like a lot of the Knicks shorts were really short. Shots were really short, where they were obviously their legs were kind of going. They'd played a couple days before, I think, right? It was like 2-day difference or something. So just one of those games, like sometimes you just get run out of the gym, and you got to just come back and reevaluate your approach and then go from there.
All right, well, Cheyenne, going to the Pacers now. I mean, it starts with the head of the snake, right? Tyrese Halliburton. These last 3 games after that game one where everyone was flaming him. Oh, 6 points, not the same player. He comes out 34 in game 2, 35 in game 3, and then 20 in limited minutes because they blew out the Knicks in game 4 there. What have you seen differently from him? Is that a confidence thing, you think? Because he's been letting that thing fly, and it's been a great sight
more
to see.
aggressive. Yeah, he's just been more aggressive overall. First game, he was just being a bit passive. But if the Pacers wanted to have a chance in this series, they needed like the best version of Tyrese Halliburton, and we haven't seen the best version of Tyrese Halliburton for like a long time. The first half, up until like the All-Star break, everyone was like, "Oh my God, Tyrese Halliburton is gonna make first team All NBA. He's been amazing this year." Next, like best point guard in like 5. Everyone was like hyping. But then after like a little injury here and there, like he slowed down a lot. He hasn't had that same production, that same feel, that same vibe. Feels like he's finally getting back to it, and it's really good to see because it's making this an interesting series. And the Pacers they're competing, and I like this, but I don't think the Knicks are out of the series or anything. I don't think they really need to like get depth in the offseason. I just think they're just unfortunate. They have like 4 rotational guys out with injury. Like that doesn't happen like every year. But
Yeah,
I think it just
OG is a big piece to miss.
Yeah.
He's a guy you go and get at the deadline, or I don't know if it was at the deadline or before the deadline,
it was
but
a bit before the deadline.
but still, he's a guy that you give up a lot of assets to go get to be that guy that can be your main 3-and-D key contributor, and he goes down, and Pascal Siakam all of a sudden starts looking a little bit better there on the floor. So, it just affects all areas of the game, and like you said, it's kind of unfortunate for them that they've come down with all these injuries. Like Alex said, I still think that they pull out this series in 7. I don't see a way they lose in New York. It feels like every time they play in New York, besides that one game they lost to Philly, I believe it was like game 5. It feels like every game
the Tyrese Maxey game.
They just they find a way to win. And good teams in the playoffs find a way to win. I feel like this New York Knicks team just finds ways to win at home. I think they get it done tonight. Probably lose game 6, but game 7 in New York, I don't see them losing. So I still have the Knicks in 7. Cheyenne, are you on board with Knicks in 7?
Yeah, I got Knicks in 7.
Okay, Knicks in 7. All right. So switching now to the NBA draft lottery, happened over the weekend. Atlanta Hawks get the number 1 pick. A little bit unforeseen there. I know
Bad day for the basketball
Alex is pretty
world.
upset with the Hawks getting the number 1 pick. I'm fine with that. I'm cool. What's wrong with the A? Why are we not rocking with the Atlanta Hawks getting the number 1 pick?
Because I don't like the Hawks. I don't like the roster. I don't like the organization. I don't like the people of Atlanta. I'd be
very careful with that statement, man. There's a lot of
people. Come fight me. But our 5 listeners are gonna be up in arms. But if you got to this point in the podcast, comment "fuck Atlanta." But what else? Yeah, it is kind of a weird position for them too, because if you're gonna use this pick, I feel like you have to kind of use this pick on a player if you get the number 1 overall pick, because for all the things that draft analysts have been saying, from the teams have been saying, is that nobody really values this draft class. Nobody really values number 1 pick. Like usually it's the number 1 pick. Like before you would get a Kevin Love with it, right? You could get these really elite players. You could get Chris Webber. No, Penny. You could get Penny Hardaway with those trades. I'm just trying to think of number 1 overall trades. But you can get really good value with those really superstar talent players or superstars. But this draft class, it's maybe I don't know, a Lou Dort. It's not really it's, and they wouldn't even do that trade. But a solid starter who's a contributor on a good team, and that's it. And I think for Atlanta, you have to use this pick and try and use it to develop. And then, everyone's mocking Sarr to be the first overall pick. If you bring in Sarr, then you have to trade Capella, and you have to figure out if Sarr and Okongwu can play together. If so, trade Okongwu, because you want to develop these guys as much as possible. I like Sarr as a fit next to Trae Young, offensively, just being a lob threat and athletic guy. Defensively, it works well too. But again, I never liked Trae Young in any context defensively. So I think your ceiling's always gonna be limited with Trae Young as your as a player on your team. So, but yeah, I think for the Hawks,
shots at Trae Young already, man.
Yes, this is a theme on the podcast.
Trae Young ain't do nothing. Trae Young's just
no, he did. He doesn't play defense. He's a midget. That's why. But But like the thing with yeah, I just think it's a good point for the Hawks to hopefully make a decision on what they want for their future. Personally, if I were them, I'd trade Trae Young. But I would have done that like months ago, and I don't think they care what I think. But
well, they're not gonna. Let's be honest, they're not gonna have a choice here. Trae Young has already said he's not gonna be part of a rebuild, and it seems like a number one pick opens the door for you to now make a decision to go be in a rebuild, because the Hawks have, often teetered this line of being like pretty good but not great. I know they had that one Eastern
Mid.
Conference Finals run, but outside of that, haven't been, dominant by any stretch of the imagination. So I think this opens the door for a rebuild to start now with them. Like you said, I think they move off of Trae Young and probably Capella too, just to free up that front court there to develop a guy like Sarr. Not really sold on anyone in this draft class, to be honest. I watched a lot of college basketball, so I think Connect is a really good player. Has some, traits of, incredible shooting, off the dribble, off the catch, where he can be an effective guy for someone. But I don't think they'll use a top pick on him. And really, no one's really anything that's guaranteed, I'd say, in this draft class. Maybe a Donovan Clingan, a guaranteed, rib protector, but nothing outside of that is really guaranteed. So if you're the Hawks, why not take a big swing here and try and rebuild and move off of Trae Young? That brings a question now. Cheyenne, Trae Young becomes available, it seems like, with this number one pick going to the Hawks. Does that open the door for a team like the Lakers to go out and make a trade for him?
It opens the door, but I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want
no
to go
team with
through that
competitive
door
aspirations.
particularly.
Yeah, no team with any competitive aspirations would be trading for Trae Young this offseason.
Because I feel like the Lakers, in order to get Trae Young, they'd have to give up like a lot of their depth. And we saw in the playoffs they had no defense at all. And I just think that if you'd want to win a championship, you need to have a good defense. I feel like it would be hard to do that at this point with Trae Young playing like 30, 40 minutes a game, and
LeBron.
with LeBron having to play as much as he does. I mean, I'm not gonna say he's a terrible defender, but
He
LeBron
is.
is
You can
all
say
right,
it.
LeBron's getting older.
He's not a terrible defender.
He doesn't
He's not
he
a
doesn't have
terrible
to
No,
defender.
he is. He doesn't.
he doesn't put as much
He
effort
gets back
into.
cut like twice. Like
Hey, stop talking
times
real
a game.
quick, boy. Stop
Okay,
talking.
my
all right?
bad. But like, whatever. He's a bad defender.
He's getting old. He's up in age. He has to pick his spots when he chooses to defend, and I just think you need to surround the team with more quality defenders. Help Anthony Davis out. I just don't
Okay,
think. I don't think Trae Young's
what
the
if
way you go.
what if LeBron doesn't stay? What if LeBron's gone? Then does that open up a Trae Young trade?
No. I mean, if that happens, you're capped out on like what? Like a fucking 8 seed. Like, you're not going to be competitive with Trae Young and AD as your top guys, in my opinion. Especially if you're having to give up so many role players and assets to get Trae Young in the first place. Like, if it was a free agent thing, maybe, but like, it's going to be like a very shallow team, and then put that next to a massively flawed player like Trae Young, it just wouldn't be worth it, in my opinion. There's no point in making that
Massively
trade.
flawed. Damn.
Yeah, he is massively flawed. I mean, is he not? He has a massive flaw.
I mean, there's other players in the league that aren't great on defense. I don't know why you single out Trae Young as being the only superstar.
Okay, because he's physically like he's never going to be a good defender. Like no matter what, he's 6 foot.
So yeah, but there's other guys in the league that are probably never going to be good defenders that are superstars.
Okay, yeah, I know you're right. Exactly, I wouldn't trade for him either. But the difference with Trae Young is that there's no way you can even hide him because he's so small. Like Zach LaVine, like he's not a great defender, but he's still 6'5" and athletic. Like he can make plays, even though he's a good defender. He's still potential for hide him pretty well. I mean, you can put him on a bigger
potential. He's like 28, bro. If he hasn't,
I'm just saying, like I wouldn't do it. I'm just saying, like compared to Trae Young,
he's pushing 30. I
I
don't know how much learning he's got to do.
No, I'm just saying. Yeah, here's the thing. It's just I'm just saying, like that's an example of a guy who also sucks on defense. And I wouldn't trade for, but I'd rather trade for him for less assets than Trae Young, because with
Zach
defense,
LaVine has an outrageous contract.
Yeah, I know exactly. You wouldn't give up anything for Zach LaVine. You'd be giving up. You might get an asset back for Zach LaVine. That's how bad of a contract it is.
Hey, LaVine and Caruso though. Then I'm gonna pick up
first, bro. There's no way.
No, isn't Caruso a free agent? I think
yeah, he's a free agent.
Oh, okay.
I thought he can opt. I thought it's a player option. No, actually, no, he doesn't have a player option. I think he's just a free agent.
He signed a 4-year after the bubble, right?
It was after
pretty-
2021, I think.
Oh yeah, the year after, yeah. I
Maybe
think
he's
it's one more
got
year.
one more.
Chicago.
I think he has another year.
One second, I'm
mean,
gonna grab a charger.
they
Yeah,
could
one more
trade
year.
for
Yeah,
him.
he's a 1 more year deal. Well, he has a year left on his deal. I don't know why they didn't trade him this summer offseason. No, this offseason, this trade deadline. But shout out to them, I guess. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's not
Well,
talk about the
okay.
Bulls ever again. There's nothing to say about the Bulls.
The
But
what?
nothing to say about the Bulls. Nothing productive to say about them.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's get off the Bulls then. But your San Antonio Spurs get the 4 pick here. What do you want them to do with it? I know there's been a lot of talk about Rob Dillingham maybe in this slot to take over the reins at the point guard position. What do you think that they should do? I know
Personally-
Reeves is there, or not Reeves. What's his name? Reed.
Shepard. Yeah.
Also,
Personally, I'm a big fan of Topic from Serbia. I think he's the guy you want to pick up perfectly. If I could do a perfect scenario for this draft, I'd love to pick up Reed Shepard at the 8 as well, and have Topic and Reed Shepard as my top picks. Shepard's being mocked everywhere from like 3 to 10, so I have no
Mhm.
idea what his range is. I would like to see Topic and Shepard as that would be like the dream scenario, because I think Topic would be a great point guard, a pure point guard to put with Wemby, which would kind of elevate his ceiling. And then also Topic is like 6'6", and I think with Reed Shepard's more of a scorer and more of a dynamic. I mean, he had the joint highest vertical at the combine. It was crazy for a small white boy, but that combining that with Topic in the backcourt kind of makes up for Reed's deficiencies with his size and his wingspan. And I'd really like to see that. And then also I think Vassell could play the 3 as well. So I think that's a really great core.
It sounds like
And if-
6'4".
I think he lives good with the 3, especially if you got Topic. But I like Vassell. And also I think Reed Shepard wouldn't start originally anyway. You'd have time to figure out if he's the guy. Like you could have him off the bench as I think Evan Vassell's like 6'5". But anyway, yeah, I fuck with Devin Vassell on some real shit. Yeah, he's 6'5", yeah, 200 pounds. Small to me, but yeah, he can play the 3 in my opinion. Like that's the thing with he's a good player, and Topic is like a solid 6'6", 6'7". So, but yeah, Dillingham's good, but I don't. He's a little too shifty for me. That's the only thing. I don't know if I can handle the shiftiness on the Greg Popovich team. We like it fundamental in San Antonio.
All right, Shan. Alex might not be sold on Rob D, but where do you think that he's headed? I think he's probably the top prospect coming out of college, out of any of these guys in the draft. Where do you anticipate he'll land in terms of like the range of whether it's 3rd pick or anywhere below the 6th pick? Do you think that he reaches the 5th or 6th pick, or do you think he goes in the top 5 there?
I think he could go anywhere from like 2 to 7. I mean, this draft is just weird because I feel like nothing's really a sure thing. Usually there's like one clear top guy, or like there's a couple like good like prospects, like, but everyone here is like everyone here's from overseas, G League, Ignite. There's some people from college, but they haven't been as dominant as like some of the past players we've seen. So everything's kind of like a mystery in this draft. No, I just feel like you got to get lucky.
Maybe the biggest mystery here, Bronny James coming in, to the combine here, anticipating, Bronny's going to be 6'3", 6'4", a guy that can really get out and defend. Alex, he measured in at what, 6'1"?
6'1.5", yeah.
It's a bit surprising. Did put on a good performance, shooting. I believe there's a clip that circled around where he shot 12 for 12 on 3-pointers.
For the star drill, he was 18 to 25 from 3, which is
I
think it was
good shooting performance for him.
19,
but
yeah.
In terms of the measurables, I mean, obviously we know he's probably not an NBA caliber prospect this year. And we all agree that he probably should have gone back to school. But maybe that clock is ticking Bron's career, and he wanted to play in the NBA before his dad retires. So do you think if he doesn't go to a team that Bron's on, that he'll survive in the NBA, or do you think that he
I think he's a massive he's not really. I think there's a really high ceiling with him, where he could be like a legitimate, like maybe like a DeAnthony Melton kind of guy. His wingspan is 6'7.5", which is very big. Like a good wingspan would be like an average wingspan is your height. So if you're 6'6" and you have a 6'6" wingspan, that's average. So for him to be 6 inches taller than his wingspan to be 6 inches bigger than his actual height is really impressive, and that's something that the sperm genes are really like kicking in right there with him. This is a really great athlete. We saw with his vertical. We've seen it the whole year at USC. Even despite the hard stuff, he is an amazing athlete, and I think teams are going to give him the benefit of the doubt in a lot of ways because of his athletic heritage and because he has this amazing genetic ability, and also like his dad's LeBron. Like,
You mentioned
knows the game.
genetics a lot during this soliloquy right here. A lot
Yeah.
of genetics, a lot of
Genetics.
genes mentioned here.
The genes, bro. Yeah, like the chromosomes type shit. But
Oh my god.
yeah, the downs. But I'm trying to like he's a very again, athleticism is a big part of the NBA. Like that's the thing we kind of forget about. Like you can't teach athleticism. I know from personal experience. You cannot like if you're limited, you're limited, you know? And I think teams are gonna give him a try because he's such an and I think he's a chance of being a really good player. You know, college basketball isn't the same as the NBA ball, where college ball it's very it's a lot easier to it's messy. It's a lot messier. There's a lot more kind of unattractive plays. You know, JJ and LeBron talk about it on their pod, where it's kind of they don't enjoy watching the game because it is it's not as beautiful as like the NBA game. The spacing is the same, stuff like that. And I think if you put Bronny on a competitive team where he can learn and develop, then he's gonna have a great career. But I want to see him with LeBron first because I want to see the sunshine with his child.
Okay, well that begs the question then, Shane. I'm gonna go to you here. Lakers have the 17th pick and the 55th pick. I don't think that Rob Pelinka is crazy enough to use it on the 17th. I mean, they've done dumber stuff in the past, but I don't think that he's crazy enough to use 17 on him. But there's a lot of talk about, 55. Lakers have a shot to draft Bronny here. Would you be okay with the pick? Do you think that he makes it to 50? I mean, I know the Celtics are at 54. They could just do something insane and draft Bronny in spite of the Lakers and Bron. But do you think that he makes it to 55? And if he does, are you okay with the Lakers taking him, or do you feel like that's kind of a wasted draft pick?
I feel like some team would probably take a chance on him, especially in like the mid-second round. Like 55, I feel like some team would definitely take a chance on him.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean,
but
looking at this teams
I
in
feel
this
like
range,
because Bronny, even though we didn't see it in college, his floor is like an amazing defender, smart player, and all he needs is like prove that his jump shot could get better over time, which I believe it will. And this drill that he did in the combine showed like great flashes of that. So I think Bronny's gonna be like a really good player, like a solid 3-and-D player, like at worst. I feel.
Well, I will say this is a kind of weak draft class, and we know the history of second-round picks. I mean, teams are passing it around like a blunt. They don't really care. I mean, they're trading 3 second-round picks or, whatever.
I'm looking at the list right now, and it's like it shows the teams that have to pick, and then the original like owner.
Yeah,
like every team in the second round is different. There's like nobody with the.
Yeah, but
crazy.
I mean, it begs the question, is it worth it just to, use a flyer second-round pick on Bronny to see what you have there? Just because he's kind of unknown. I mean, as much as, he's followed and people talk about him and his dad, we don't really know what Bronny's going to turn into. I mean, he's a guy that, like you guys mentioned, has a high ceiling, but it was untapped in college. I saw him. I mean, he was overpowered by the guards of Arizona State. I mean, Frankie, don't get me wrong. Frankie Collins is, a good defensive point guard, but I mean, he had him on a leash going up the floor. I mean, just bullying him all the way as Bronny was trying to take the ball up the floor. So I don't know if he's ready, and I think this was a bad decision overall. I think this could end up coming back to bite him. But I do think that he has that high ceiling, and I wouldn't mind the Lakers using 55 on him. I don't agree that he's worth the 55 pick. I think he's probably, in my opinion, even lower than that. But if the Lakers want to use a second-round pick on it, I don't care. They'll probably draft. I mean, who did the Lakers even draft with their last second-round pick? You don't know. I mean, come on,
Maxwell Lewis.
He was like 41, I think. So he was
shout out to the ball.
Just sitting the bench. I mean, the second-round pick's probably not going to do anything anyway. So you
might
as well
most
use
second-round picks don't even make like the roster. So
yeah, exactly. Would Bronny make?
That's why even if it's any team, I'd say like I'd be cool with them taking a chance on him.
You think he would make the roster if the Lakers drafted him?
I think he'd be a two-way player.
Right? LeBron wouldn't.
I mean, I think most second-round picks stay on the roster though. Like nobody really gets cut. Like if you're an American guy too, like you know what I mean. Like I don't think he's getting cut. He's just gonna two-way or something, or an G League contract. I think two-way, and then he'll play a few games with LeBron and then show him the G League for the rest.
Yeah.
All right, before we get out of here, one last thing. Cheyenne, a lot of reports about the Lakers' future head coach. I know a couple coaching vacancies have been filled up. Charlotte just filled one up. I believe they got Boston's assistant, right? What was his name? Something Lee or something?
Charles Lee.
Charles Lee. Yeah, there you go. Lakers looking at Minnesota's assistant here, JJ Redick, who I'm not sold on. I feel like I said, I feel like if they hire JJ Redick, it's just going to be LeBron as the coach. Like JJ Redick's just going to be there. They'll collaborate a lot. I mean, I guess that's cool. They're collaborating, but I don't want a podcast episode
Like Steve Nash and Brooklyn.
mocking up plays. That's I need an actual voice in there. So, like I said, I want them to go with an established.
We
voice.
just lost. We just blew a 15-point lead to the Wizards.
Yeah,
what
do
do
a
we do
podcast
now?
on that. I mean, listen, Alex, your mic
We
went.
can't hear you.
But Bud, I know, just got scooped up by Phoenix. I think that was a decent hire. I wouldn't have wanted him for the Lakers, but I think that was a decent hire. In terms of the Lakers, I think that they have to go with an established coach. That's why I like Kenny Atkinson. I know Alex wasn't as high on Kenny, but
You hear me?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, bet.
I know they've brought in Kenny for 2 interviews now. They brought him back for another one. I just think he's the best option of those available. Like I said earlier, I know Tyronn Lue, if he became available, would obviously be the choice. But the more the days goes on, the more it seems like he's not going to be available. So I think the Lakers should go with Kenny, not JJ Redick. Cheyenne, what do you think? Is there any coaching candidate that really stands out to you?
I just know which one doesn't stand out. Dude, James Borrego, do not get that man near LA, bro. He was the Hornets head coach for like 4 years. And like bro did not give like their best player like any minutes. Like LaMelo. It took him like half the year to make bro a starter, like who would eventually be an all-star. And dude, I will not let this man be the Lakers head coach, bro. I will personally go to LA right now and tackle like Rob Pelinka if he tries to fucking do that move, bro. I cannot let that slide. Bro, besides
Alex, you're
that,
muted
like
again.
yeah,
Alex, you're muted again. Well, if this coaching, hire flops again, at what point does it become not about the head coach or, I mean, I guess you could blame Braun a little bit because he has some control in this, but at what point does it become management's fault that the Lakers haven't been performing as well as of late? I mean, let's be honest. They put themselves in this hole with the
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook trade. You could say that was Braun. I don't know. We don't know what happened behind the scenes. They obviously had the Hield and Turner trade in place, and then all of a sudden, we're trading for Russ last minute. But at what point does it become management's fault for 2021? Rob Pelinka doesn't bring on any
Yeah.
shooters. They broke up that 2020 team that won them a championship. At what point is it management's fault for hiring guys like Darvingham, or if this guy flops, hiring this next coach? I mean, at what point is it Rob Pelinka's fault and Jeannie Buss's fault?
Yeah, it's definitely at some point it's got to be considered Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss's fault because at some point it's not just the coach like for like underachieving. It's got to be like the overall roster construction and like the key decisions I made and like what led them to like where we are right now. Like 20 after 2020, I understand some of the 2021 moves because Dennis Schroeder I think won 6-man of the year. And Montrezl Harrell, he was like the runner-up to 6-man of the year. And you add them both to your team, I think those are good moves. And they basically keep like the same core players. They have KCP, they have Alex Caruso on that team, and they were number 1 in the West like until they got injuries. And I don't know why Braun or Rob Pelinka would want to trade for Russell Westbrook. I feel like everyone kind of saw that not turning out the best. Maybe not as bad as it did turn out, actually, but
A lot of Lakers fans were like doing the photoshops them in the finals and that's like, let's be real here.
Oh,
Okay, you guys
knew-
were pretty all in. Okay,
No,
You guys were
someone I
pretty
knew
excited about
said, can we just skip to the finals with
Yeah.
a picture of Braun, AD, and Russ?
I think it was
Yeah.
more about like how cool it would be just to see all the stars.
No, I think Lakers fans are pretty set on them making the finals. Let's be real here.
No, bro.
That's
the
just,
Westbrook
just the
trade
way
was,
Lakers are. Bro.
no, dude, that was not it. Bro.
Yeah, but at the time, I mean, people like it didn't make sense at the time to me, at least, because it was a weird fit. But I mean, he was still a star. Like he'd come off a triple double season and
It was the Wizards year.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
had a great year with the
Here's-
Wizards that year.
Yeah,
He-
exactly. Like
that season.
he dragged that team to like the
but also the rest of that
like
team was
the
like
8th seed.
full of old heads, bro.
8th or 7th seed. Yeah, I mean,
That team had like
He's got-
Melo, Dwight, they had everyone, bro.
Oh yeah, bringing on Carmelo Anthony in the big 2022. It was a great decision.
yeah, Lakers legend Carmelo Anthony.
Well, Alex, I didn't ask you about the Bud hire. That's the most recent big hire. What do you make of him heading to Phoenix?
Yeah, okay. It's a good move, I think, because he's a legitimate NBA coach and has experience. He's won a championship, of course. 5 years. I don't like coaches getting all this like these years like on these contending teams because you're gonna have to fire them at some point probably because coaches are the first people you fire in these situations. And like you're gonna have to be paying him a bag for him to leave. It's like give him a 3 year or something. It's good that the coaches are getting their bag and they're getting their security. But from a team perspective, I think it's pretty. We've seen it with Detroit and Monty Williams. Like giving coaches a bag without knowing like if they're going to be any good or not is a bit worrying, and I think it's a lot can go wrong. So I hope it goes well for Bud because I do like Bud. He's not the best at adjusting. That's his main thing, where he just kind of goes with what he goes with and sees how it works out, trusts in his game plan. I think Phoenix is more about the management side in the offseason and getting good players. They really need picks. Like they don't really have any picks or any like they don't really use the draft as well as other teams. So they really need like cost controlled contracts with the top tier talent that they have if they're going to keep their core. But it's a big season for Phoenix. They really need to improve their team and go from there.
I think that about wraps it up there. Make sure to follow us on all platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, and tune in next week for more NBA playoff action. We should know who's going to be in, each of the finals, Western Conference and Eastern Conference finals. So that'll be fun, wrapping up the season here. We go down the stretch, but make sure you tune in before the buzzer so that you get up to date with all the latest NBA news and stuff. Also got the draft coming up, so maybe we'll do a draft special or something. But for all the boys, thank you for watching episode 14 of Before the Buzzer. Make sure to tune in next week, and we hope you have a great day.
Bye, guys. Love you guys.
Bye.